Hi, so if possible, please could you start just by introducing yourself?
Yeah, my name is Pav Singh.
Okay, can you tell us your involvement with football?
Yeah, at present I'm a FA County Coach Developer, and the area I cover is within the East region, so my county is Leicestershire and Rutland.
Okay, and can you be a bit more in depth about what does your job entail? What does Pav Singh do on a daily basis?
Well, basically my role, this is the fourth year we're going into it, is very much coaching the coaches. We deliver along the coaching pathway, so we deliver all the coaching courses up to UEFA B, and a lot of that involves going into the clubs, assessing coaches within their own context, and then part of that we deliver a lot of CPD events, and I'm quite lucky as well. I'm also involved in the Talent ID programme, so that's a new pathway.
Yep.
And I deliver on the level 2 in talent identification and recruitment.
Excellent, yeah. And could you just tell me a bit about your own sort of previous background in football before you became a coach educator?
I think coach educator, obviously I've been a coach over 15 years. I think I initially started off like any young boy who wanted to be a pro footballer. Spent time as a Leeds United schoolboy, spent time at Brass City. But when I broke my leg, that just changed my path a bit. So I did my coaching badges, did my my education calls as well. And I went down sports development first, but coached at the side and played semi-pro to a certain level. As the coaching evolved, job opportunities were quite good. So I spent a lot of years in the local authority Bradford Council as a sports development officer, then to a sports development manager. Then I worked at the West Riding as a football development officer, managing the coach education programme. Still tutoring FA courses and working in academy setups like Leeds United and Bradford. And then I had a spell where I went to lecturing, sports coaching performance at Leeds City College. Whilst I was doing that, working in academy football and involved with a semi-pro club, Albion Sports, which I know you're aware of, the opportunity come up as a county coach developer, which I applied for, and now I do that on a full-time basis. So basically, my whole journey has been about football, really.
Yeah, and I suppose coming away from football a little bit, I'm aware that this weekend was sort of a big weekend worldwide for Sikhs. Could you just tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, obviously the weekend it was Vaisakhi, and obviously you know, it's a historic event we're aware of, the birth of Khalsa and what the Gurus did at that time. But just with my journey at the moment, Vaisakhi wasn't very much, I never used to look at it in detail because I was always working, and I was working this weekend as well. Okay,
and so what were you doing work-wise, and how do you get that balance sometimes? How do you manage that balance between your work and your religious sort of obligations?
Yeah, I think in terms of, you know, end of the day, you're preaching to the converted here who's changed in a way where the birth of my children, because they go to Punjabi school, okay, a lot of my nieces, my nephews go as well. Now, there's a lot of teaching going on there around Vaisakhi or religious type stuff, and it's only when the penny dropped, the light bulb moment, was when your kids start asking you about Vaisakhi. So the last few years, obviously, if I'm working, say if I'm doing a coach developer or I'm off to do an in-situ visit somewhere, we know it's Vaisakhi or it's Diwali, the kids always used to ask, why has Dad not got a day off? Why is he not spending time with the family? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that only hit home there when you start prodding the kids and they're telling you a bit more about Vaisakhi, telling you a bit about Sikhism and the teachings of the Gurus, then the penny starts to drop a bit, okay? So I'm not saying I neglected it, I was aware of it, but I just cracked on in a way.
Yeah.
And then I think the balance occurred when my dad retired, and then he had to teach himself Punjabi.
Yeah.
Then he started understanding more about Sikhism himself. So you're talking a guy from a different generation who was a foundry worker who now deployed most of his time teach himself Punjabi, learning about Sikhism and all that kind of stuff. And then obviously the Sikh family, we pride ourselves, we live together, we support each other, but little pennies he drops in, little key messages every now and again.
Yeah.
I see with the way he talks to my children, my nieces, my nephews, about the teachings of the Gurus. Even though you might be in the same room, but you could hear that stuff, and it does sort of like make you think a bit and pinch yourself and think, do I understand what Vaisakhi is? What is it? What, you know, because I just cracked on with it.
Yeah.
But I think over the last obviously couple of years, and especially social media is massive at the moment. So WhatsApp, we have all that. So you get a lot of stuff sent through to you. Happy Vasaki, happy Vasaki, happy Vasaki. 3-4 years ago, I just look at it, not reply. But now, when people send you stuff, there's certain key messages hidden, and there's certain speeches, what I've done as well. And it was only a couple of months ago when there was a certain speech that really got to me in terms of what is Vasaki. And then I tried to sort of like link it more to what I do. So the teachings of the gurus, because they were teachers. This is what my dad always goes on about. And then what I found was, and there was this speech this guy did, it was incredible. He talked about gurus were trying to transform humans into super human beings.
Yeah.
That's what they were trying to do. Basically teach and help support each other. And I just felt, and I just thought, well, hang on, I'm working Sunday, but what I'm actually doing is I'm doing an in-situ visit at a club, and I'm actually supporting coaches to get better.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to just link it together.
Yeah.
And when my missus rang me, what time are you getting home? Because the kids just want to get together, and I just said, well, I'm doing what the gurus are doing, transforming humans into superhuman beings.
Yeah.
So transforming coaches into super coaches.
Yeah.
So that's how I saw it, a bit like that. So I've never been one of them who say, right, it's Vasaki, it's Diwali, take a day off. Yes, you've got to spend time with the family, and don't get me wrong, my cousins always say to me, where are you? Even my cousin said to me, are you coming to the walk on Sunday? I said, no, I'm working. Do you know what I mean? But I think the most important thing is educating yourself what it's about, rather than not seeing it as a historic event.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And what does Vasaki, the birth of caste, what the gurus did, what does it mean to you in this day and age?
Yeah.
Because I just feel as if you've got to show, and not an obligation, I would say. It's important to know, obviously, your culture, your religion. It's really important. And other religions as well. Do you know what I mean? But I'm not one to preach about it, but I do take it in. I do take it in a lot.
Yeah. And so, sort of learning more about Vaisakhi yourself and religion and that. Do you think that's something that's going to come out in the way you coach, educate, the way you go out and work with other people?
I think obviously the work I'm involved in with the Football Association, you come across people from different backgrounds.
Yeah.
Okay, and I think that's you're not going to go talk about your religion or stuff like that, but I think when you're there, it's a lot. The county FAs and the FAs are doing a lot of work at this moment in time in terms of the religious calendar. So the awareness of, okay, it's Ramadan, there's Diwali, there's Vaisakhi, do you know what I mean? As well as the Chinese New Year. But I think now, I'm not saying it wasn't in the past, but certain individuals are pushing that a lot more, and it's about that awareness and that education.
Yeah.
Okay, but I don't go out there and say, right, I'm Sikh and we got Vaisakhi, do you know this is what it's about? It's educating people is very important, okay, but within that society now where it's so multicultural, and people within different employments need to be aware of religious events and that's so important.
Yeah. And sort of looking at Pav Singh, the proud father and proud Sikh, how will you encourage your children to maybe fill in the gap that you filled in later on? So what sort of things might you put into practice to try and help them?
I think what's important is when we talk about the gurus, we've got to look at their values, their values in terms of, if, at the moment, we say you're not a proper Sikh, you're just Indian, do you know what I mean? But in terms of, all I set in stone in terms of, for my children, is having clear values, and they start from home, okay? Yeah. Stuff like be supportive, respect, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And sometimes, I remember when I used to go to Punjabi school a long time ago, and believe it or not, me and my sister used to go, but we couldn't read or write Punjabi, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's quite interesting because most kids who can do that, their mum and dad can read and write, and they have that support.
Yeah.
But my mum and dad, they couldn't, and that's hence why my dad the last 10 years he's taught himself to read and write Punjabi. That's unbelievable. He's taught himself, by the way,
yeah.
No teaching. But in terms of that resilience and grit to go through that, but that's what I expect my children to have, clear values.
Yeah.
But remember the gurus, in terms of that thing about transforming humans into superhumans, okay, you can only do that when you're being inspiring, encouraging, being supportive, okay, and praising. That's important.
Yeah. And in terms of your children and how they play sport and where they play sport, do you think you can mix their participation in sport and have a great sort of role in sport like you are, but mix that with learning about the religion at the same time?
I think doing both is important. Now, often it's depending on how interesting. I went to Punjabi school, and I'll be honest with you, it was quite boring. So I used to go to Punjabi on a Sunday, but when I started playing football, I didn't have to go.
Yeah.
So I didn't have to go, I want to play football, I don't have to do Punjabi. Do you know what I mean? Because certain people there who were teaching, they've got an obligation to make you want to stay and learn. But then my dad said, no, you go Saturdays to Punjabi school. Do you know what I mean? But you could combine both. Doesn't mean you have to go to a religious place to learn it. You can learn it at home. Do you know what I mean? But I think for kids nowadays, that generation coming, it's very important they get an understanding of their culture, their background, and their roots. The roots are really important.
Yeah.
Okay, but not just their own, but learn others as well, which is important. But I think let's not take it for granted. And I'm one of them who's like, well, it's Diwali, it's Vaisakhi, right? It's a day off, or but it's what is it we know about it?
Yeah.
You need to know it inside out. I'm not saying I know it inside out, but I have to teach myself to learn through internet, through my kids, through my dad, what actually is Vaisakhi, okay? And rather than contradicting myself, but that's important. But they can do both. They can do both. It helps.
And do you think there's some crossover in the way that you sort of coach, educate, and is there any crossover with the way you educate your kids in terms of that? Do you see any sort of mirrors or crossovers in the way you work? So is there a way that you help coaches learn about certain things that are similar to the way that you'd help your kids learn certain things?
Yeah, that's quite interesting. The way we work with coaches, obviously with the new pathway, it's become quite a constructivist approach because they're adult learners.
Yeah.
Because adults, they like to go about, they have the knowledge anyway, they have the knowledge, so the way they share the knowledge and they self-teach themselves to take risks. Okay, so with kids, I'm not one of those who likes to tell. Okay, so with my kids, I like them to take risks and find out. So my lad was doing his homework yesterday, and simple diagram, and do some use a box, edit a box, so he could do some writing, and he didn't know how to do it. So I showed him, but it took him a bit longer, and I said, look, these are the areas where you need to work on. Have a go. And then it took him 45 minutes, and he self-taught himself and did it.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the way with coaches. Let them find a way. Okay, and the thing is, kids see things different from us. Okay, and I think sometimes the way we translate to kids, a lot of words get lost in translation. Okay, but the approach what we tend to take is, especially with coaches and young kids, if we teach the coaches to take risks and reflect better, okay, hopefully that will have a ripple effect when they work with their players as well.
Yeah. Okay, excellent. Yes, I see where you're coming from there.
Yeah.
In terms of sort of the interviews, anything else you'd want to share in terms of your own journey maybe, or we spoke about Vaisakhi, religion, your children, etc. Is there anything else that you sort of want to share?
I think with this day and age now, in this multicultural society now, there's so much going on in terms of religious festivals, events. There's absolutely loads, and I think it's important that we share and educate what is Ramadan about, what is Vaisakhi about, what is Diwali about, what is Christmas about, and that's so important. And I think that's going on quite a lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
And final question: do you think football's got a part to play in helping people learn about other cultures, religions, traditions, that kind of thing?
Well, I think it has, because obviously I know part of your role, Assad, as well, because you do a lot of work in inclusion. There'll be some religious football events, okay, probably, and I know a lot of stuff, especially I do a lot of work in Leicestershire, as you see, and sometimes I know there's an event in a couple of months' time in Doncaster to celebrate Vaisakhi five-a-side event.
Right.
So if sometimes if it's integrated, if people are going to enter teams in there, they say, why are we playing this tournament? Because it's to do with Versace. What is Versace about? Does that make sense? So sometimes the hidden messages, it's about football, but we'll use a title like Versace or Diwali 5-a-side tournament, because people will ponder and be curious about why we're playing this 5-a-side tournament to celebrate Diwali. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay, excellent. So just to summarise, thank you for your time. I appreciate that, and thanks again.
Cheers,
Thank you very much.